11 years ago, it started with a hallway, a single brutal, unbroken shot. No music swearing to tell you how to fear, just fists, breath, fatigue, every second dragging you deeper into exhaustion. You're not watching a superhero, you're trapped in the body of one. And yes, this scene has been talked about to death. But stay with me here. Now jump forward nearly a decade. The same character returns, but something feels different. The cuts are quicker, the lighting is cleaner, the wound feels bigger, but somehow less intimate. It still feels good and looks good, just not the same. So what changed? Why does Netflix's Daredevil feel so raw, while Disney Plus's Daredevil Born Again feels more like a polished machine? And more importantly, was that change inevitable? To understand the difference, you have to start with where each show was born. The original Daredevil lived on Netflix during a time when Marvel Television operated separately from Marvel Studios. That might sound like corporate trivia, but it shaped everything you see on screen. The Netflix series was built like a crime drama first and a superhero show second. Think The Wire makes a comic book. Its pacing reflected that philosophy. Long scenes, patient storytelling, and most importantly, editing that didn't rush to impress you. Scenes was allowed to breathe. Dialogue scenes lingered, silence mattered, even action sequences were structured to feel exhausting rather than exciting. That famous hallway fight is editing restraint. Instead of cutting to hide imperfections, the sequence commits to duration. The lack of cuts focuses realism. You fear every hit because there's nowhere for the moment to escape. Now compare that to Born Again. This series is produced directly under Marvel Studios for Disney Plus, and that comes with a completely different production ecosystem, one built on scare, efficiency, and integration into a larger cinematic universe. Where Netflix's Daredevil felt handcrafted, Disney's Daredevil is engineered. That shift shows up immediately in the editing. Cuts are faster, coverage is wider, scenes are designed to be modular, meaning they can be reshaped in post-production more easily. This is a standard Marvel Studios approach, where reshoots and restructuring are part of the workflow. In practical terms, this means editors are often assembling scenes from multiple iterations, sometimes even rewriting the rhythm of a moment after it's been filmed. That alone changes the fear. But editing isn't just about cuts, it's about what the footage allows. Netflix series relied heavily on practical lighting and grounded cinematography. Low light, deep shadows, and naturalistic color grading created a visual language that matched the character's internal struggle. Editors had to work within that darkness, literally.
It's a little dark in here.
Cuts was motivated by movement or emotion, not spectacle. If a scene stayed on the character's face for 10 seconds, it was because the performance demanded it. Disney's Daredevil, on the other hand, uses more advanced digital workflows. Higher dynamic range cameras, cleaner lighting setups, and a brighter overall palette gave editors more flexibility, but also changed the tone. It's easier to cut faster when every frame is clean and readable. That's why Disney's Daredevil often feels more kinetic, even in quieter scenes. The visual clarity invites movement, the edit responds accordingly. Here's something most people don't notice. The original Daredevil used sound as a pacing tool more than most superhero shows. Long stretches without music forced the editor to rely on diegetic sound footsteps, breathing, and distant traffic. That's incredibly rare in modern streaming content. It created tension not by adding more, but by stripping things away. In contrast, Disney's Daredevil leans more into traditional scoring. Music cues help guide transitions and emotional beats, which naturally leads to more structured editing rhythms. It's not bad, it's just different. One trusts silence, the other trusts orchestration. There's also a hidden factor: episode structure. Netflix's Daredevil followed a 13-episode format that gave editors room to build arcs slowly. Scenes didn't need to hit immediate payoffs because the story had time to unfold. That's why conversations could stretch and subplots could simmer. Disney's Daredevil operates under a different model, with a smaller episode count. The pacing aligns more with modern streaming expectations of tighter hooks, faster engagement, and more consistent momentum. Editors are cutting with retention in mind. That pressure changes decisions at a fundamental level. Now for a obscure detail that really highlights the difference. During the original series, some fight scenes were pre-edited in previs, specifically to avoid coverage-heavy shooting. That meant what you saw was very close to what was planned. Minimum editorial manipulation after the fact. In Disney Daredevil, like many Marvel Studio productions, scenes are often shot with multiple angles and safety takes specifically so they can be reshaped later. In other words, the Netflix show edited to preserve intention. Disney's Daredevil edits to discover it. Another lesser-known fact, the original series often used invisible cuts sparingly, while Disney's employs them more frequently. Invisible cuts are edits disguised through motion or camera movement to appear seamless. In the Netflix series, long takes was rare endurance tests. Actors and stunt performers had to execute them almost perfectly. In Disney's Daredevil, those same sequences may appear continuous, but they're often stitched together digitally. Again, not a downgrade, just a different philosophy. One values authenticity in performance, the other values flexibility in storytelling. So why did they feel so different? It comes down to three key shifters: creative control, production workflow, and audience expectation. The original Daredevil was a character study disguised as a superhero show. Its editing reflected restraint, intimacy, and trust in the audience's patience. Disney's Daredevil is part of a larger universe. Its editing reflects connectivity, scalability, and the need to keep pace with a broader narrative machine. Neither approach is inherently better, but they serve different purposes. And that brings us back to that horror. In 2015, it was groundbreaking because it refused to cut. Today, it might be recreated with digital stitching, alternate angles, and multiple passes through editorial. It would still look impressive, but it wouldn't feel the same, because sometimes what makes the moment unforgettable isn't what you add in the edit, it's what you choose to leave alone.